I think we should talk about the new issue of ESQ for a little bit as well, because to kind of tail off the end of the book, MIU Light Album era, um, on the new issue, you focus on part two of the MIU era, and specifically like the stuff with Ron Outback and the Celebration era, and you really dig deep into those records and the discography and like stuff that I never saw before. Was really cool. Um, but what was it like putting this issue together? Because we've been talking for a while. You've been working on this issue for a long time. What's it like to see it finally come out and the feedback you've gotten from it?
The feedback has been great.
Yeah,
There's a general fan base out there that I always kind of had the impression that MIU just isn't that loved, and certainly anything that Mike love songs or country love or first love or
yeah,
Rocky Pamplin's Piece of the Rock or Disco Celebration,
yeah,
it's all crap. Why would anybody even bother to read about it?
yeah.
And so I believe it's probably still up there. If you go to YouTube, you can find Rocky's album. It's up there to listen to. If anybody wants to put themselves through that.
Right.
Um, it's not because I got into this history the way that I did and talked to the people that I did. When I went up and listened to Rocky's album, I wasn't cringing. I was listening to the tracks.
Contextualized.
Yes. So
Yeah,
to understand, okay, this was because of the amount of money that was infused into love songs,
yeah,
and they had to produce a number of projects in order to meet a quota.
yeah.
So there are throwaway projects, and Disco Celebration is right up at the top. But it wasn't anything where anybody phoned anything in.
True.
It was they were okay. This is the next project. This is what we're doing,
And to make
and
it,
it was just a discovery over this issue and then this issue,
yeah,
because last issue is where I ran I set it up to be part two, and last issue, if I can find it here, is where I ran the Love Songs business card.
yeah,
It's in here somewhere. Okay, here it is. So the Love Songs business card, and that came from Marianne Haynes. And I just Elka Outback, Ron's widow, would put me in touch with one person. That person would say, "Oh, have you spoken to so and so?"
yeah,
No. Okay, well, you got to speak to that person too. Okay. And so by the time I get around to Rod Novak and Ed Talea, both of King Harvest with Ron, they're all of a sudden saying, "Hey, oh," and then one of the projects we were working on was this Marianne Haynes, and I said, "I've got her name here in this list that Ron gave me." Well, she's still alive. She is? Yeah, I've never even heard of her before. So then Ed Talea, who produced that with Rod, sends me the album. It's got pops and whatnot, but he sends it the recordings in an email to me so I can listen to it. And when I find out that Ed also, in addition to being a roadie for the Beach Boys, was kind of the same role for Seals and Croft, that the majority of the Seals and Crofts band play the instrumentation on the tracks for Marianne Haynes' album. And I'm
cool.
like, well, so I immediately want to listen to it
Yeah,
from that perspective only. And then I
yeah.
listen to it, I'm like, this is not crap.
You're right.
It's not crap. And
Solid
and
point.
and then the other great discovery was Michael Andreas having produced with Ron the Beach Boys suite. So it was really Gary Griffin, Ron, and Michael Andreas. And if anyone's ever heard Bruce Johnston's 1998 Symphonic Sounds, and if they like it at all, because for me the Water Planet suite is great.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah,
a really great chunk of music.
yeah,
Beach Boys suite is done that way throughout, and they use Mount Vernon and Fairway as a sequencing connector throughout the album, and it's cool. And I wish this stuff was available for people to buy,
I know.
because Beach Boys suite. If I had to say anything out of that period of the stuff that came out, and I've heard most of it because I've listened to Charles's albums too.
Yeah,
I like his stuff. He didn't care for that stuff though, which is interesting for his career. The albums that he released in that period for love songs are the most unlike who he is as a jazz artist.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
when he looks back at that stuff, he's not that enthused to talk about it. I really had to work at getting anything from him. I got a handful of statements, and that was it. He just does not want to. He doesn't have any bad feelings about it. He just doesn't do interviews.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a new
So
album coming.
he just so all there's a lot of history in these two, and to have so it's a it's an important responsibility to have when you're putting something in print that someone spent their time and energy doing with you that is no longer here
Absolutely.
on Outback. So
Absolutely.
that's a responsibility. And knowing that I was sending these magazines onto his widow and his children, it's one thing if the Beach Boys see it, right? Because they know, and they're looking at it from their musical perspective, not a
Right.
personal family memento.
Right.
Um, so when Elka, from both issues, has phoned me and thanked me and told me, "Wow, this is just I didn't know any of a lot of this because Ron just didn't talk about this stuff. We just went through life together and we didn't
Yeah.
say, "Oh, tell me about love songs," or "Oh, tell me about this," or "Tell me about that." And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's very interesting to me that I'm shedding light on a history of her husband that she does not familiar with, which is probably to a degree true with his children as well.
Yeah.
So
More so, probably. Yeah. Right.
so I'm very pleased that I honored him in a way that his widow and I'm assuming his children are well, that this is well received by them and that they feel as though it's of great value to their understanding of who he was.
100%. I mean, that's what's really special about the magazine. It keeps everything alive from everyone who was involved in the Beach Boys story, which is a massive undertaking. The amount of work that you put in to do this stuff is I want to use the word admirable, but it's awesome. I would say more awesome than anything else because this keeps the story alive. It's a never-ending cycle of, oh, I can read about this person, I can read about that person. What happened to that album? What about this thing? Oh, love songs. Look at all these things. Rocky Pamphlet. Like the rabbit hole is a never-ending rabbit hole.
See, I could do a volume 3 of the Ron Outback story,
Yeah,
and I'm not sure what I want to do because this is crazy to me. I've just told you about a couple of peripheral stories.
yeah.
I still have this content for Ron, and then we have Jeffrey Foskett passing away,
I know.
and then we've got this book, and I'm like, how how is it that there's so much to write about?
Isn't that incredible?
It is. It is.
It's for a band that's over 60 years old and you have to think about what content to put into the magazine. It's kind of amazing. It really is. Thank you so much for being on this video today, talking about the book and about the ESQ new issues.